Chapter 241 Becoming a VIP Member. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Seven Galaxies Bank Office. So Mr. Raven, with the list of materials you provide and the letter of recommendation you have, I can recommend you to the regional manager for getting a VIP spot in the upcoming auction. However, we will need to authenticate the items first, for which you will need to travel to Warren City and deposit the items to the auction house. I have already communicated the matter with the regional manager. We'll both see you at Warren City tomorrow morning, and if everything checks out we'll be giving you your VIP membership then and there, the human manager of the Tier 3 Seven Galaxies Bank said with the most business-like expression possible. While Max did prefer a human manager over those slimy goblins, this one was way too professional. Even when dealing with items worth billions of gold coins his expression did not flinch even a little. "Sure, I'll see you there in 14 hours then," Max said as he shook the man's hand and stood up to get out of the office. The meeting with the bank manager went as Max expected overall, with him now being one step closer to getting that VIP membership he needed to secure the second piece of his Agni, Astra. However, it was still not confirmed till he showed them the goods. This left Max with about 14 hours of free time to explore Rising Star Planet. However, Max wisely chose to teleport back to Radiance instead and spend some time with his sister-in-laws and kiddos instead. While back home, Max thanked Ruby profusely for the letter of recommendation, while slowly trying to work his way around Naomi's anger, trying to reaffirm that he would be home more often in the future. Max also read a children's book to Jack and Amy from Back Earth called Three Little Pigs, when he realized that Kartike the Little Winged Menace was the first baby in the house that was technically not an Earthling. Well, technically he was definitely not human either, but to think that Max, who was primarily a human most of his life, was now a vampire with elven and angelic descending nephews made him realize just how far the Rajput household had come. Next day, at the Warren City Auction House. The Warren City Auction House was currently under decoration for the upcoming event, as a large number of workers were bringing in extra chairs, expensive barrels of wine and other pleasantries into the building, in preparation of the event that was going to happen in 2 days' time. The security around the place was extremely tight, with the teleportation center bringing one to the city being operated by 4 Tier 6 gods at entry. Only reserved personnel were given permission to enter the Seven Galaxies Bank-owned city, and while Max had his name on the list of expected people to show up today, he was still scanned thoroughly and escorted from the teleportation center till the auction house with 3 Tier 5 guards. The Seven Galaxies Bank took security as their paramount priority, and while they could not employ anyone at the Tier 8 power level, they did hire a Tier 7 powerhouse for the overall security of the coming event while also maintaining cordial relationships with all major monarchs. Max was impressed by this show of power by the banking group, as when he met the regional director of affairs inside the auction house, Max's tone was ever so slightly more respectful towards him as he truly understood the stature of this banking institution. "Greetings, Sir Raven. If you can let our appraiser look at all the items now it would be fantastic. You have my assurance that as long as you produce goods worth over 10 billion gold coins here today and are willing to sell them at the upcoming auction, I will make you a VIP member of the Seven Galaxies Bank," the manager said as Max nodded and began producing countless items from his inventory. At first the items were rare, clearly hailing from the Dragon's Paradise dungeon, but still only a few 100,000 gold in value, as the manager became skeptical, for the total only rose to 1 billion gold coins even after Max brought out several hundred items. However, the game changed fast when Max began to bring out relics he stole from Kremeth and some extremely rare treasures of the dungeon. Bone marrow liquid from a Tier 7 white dragon's leg bones, price is 600 million gold a bottle. We have 5 such bottles. Total worth 3 billion gold coins. The appraiser said as Max nodded his chin in happiness. He had only put the worth of the bottles as 2 billion in his mind. An ancient grade treasure made to store large amounts of elemental mana of wind nature, easy 5.7 billion gold coins, the appraiser said as Max let out a soft poof, realizing the value of the small pendant he had sneakily stolen from Kremeth's pile of junk. Another ancient grade treasure, made to store one's dispersing soul fragments. Invaluable for those in need. The worth of the item can be anywhere from 2 billion to 20 billion, it's hard to put a number on a technology that has not been seen by the world in tens of thousands of years. The appraiser said as his voice trembled a bit when he appraised the treasure, as self-doubts began encroaching his mind, questioning if he really knew the true worth of these items at all. Even the regional manager was now way more serious as he realized that Max was bringing out technology that had been otherwise forgotten by the world. You had a fortuitous encounter in a secret dungeon or something? The regional manager asked, as Max just shrugged his shoulders and said nothing. How he obtained the items was not the concern of the auction house as these were not reported stolen at the time of Max selling them, hence not illegal to buy for them. The last item, a legendary grade sewing kit for the tailor profession. Although there is no reputed tailor on the guest list of the auction, the Seven Seas Bank does have one master tailor as a customer who might be interested in this set. A fair buying price should be 2 billion gold coins, the appraiser said, as the regional manager had heard all that he needed to hear. At best Max's items would fetch the company 30.32 billion gold coins, at worst they would still bring 12.15 billion. Which was enough to give Max a VIP membership. The manager graciously issued a VIP badge for Max right that instant as he reached his hand out for Max and said, "Congratulations for becoming a VIP customer of our establishment, sir. I will issue you a credit of 12 billion gold coins for the upcoming auction for your personal leisure, but to spend more you would need to wait till the items you have entrusted us with are actually sold. While I'll try and arrange your items to be sold at the start of the third round so that you have a clearer bidding picture in mind, do note that we will be taking 5% off all proceedings that you sell and the interesting soul fragment storing item will only be out for auction in the fourth round. I hope you find this arrangement acceptable." Although the manager was implying that he was asking for Max's opinion on the matter, Max knew that he was really not asking and just being polite as the 12 billion was going to be all the money that Max was going to have for spending on the Agni, Astra. Shaking the manager's hand back, Max let out a sigh and said, "Sure, it's all good." Max had done the best he could for securing the Agni, Astra, now he could just pray that he would buy the item without any major troubles for an acceptable price. But since this was the Agni, Astra and Max could take no chances, Max decided to call in his most trusted friend Sebastian to his side before the auction. If things did go south, then Sebastian was holding on to some of Kremeth's treasure items from back at the dungeon himself and could pawn them off for a credit extension for Max. While it would not lend the best price, it would still be better than letting someone else outbid him for the Agni, Astra. /////A/N. This bonus chapter is sponsored by patron Cervantes91 via Patreon. Please thank him in the comments for this one /////. Chapter 242 Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Max was going out of the auction house, he saw a familiar face standing outside talking to some kobolds wearing suits. "Whoa whoa whoa, wait a damn minute," Christian Grey said out loud as he excused himself from his colleagues and started walking towards Max. "I did not expect to see you here. I must say I'm a huge fan. Please sign an autograph for me, Sir Raven," Christian Grey said, as Max pretended not to know him and signed the tissue that Christian wanted him to sign. "You're not from Earth, are you, sir? I mean, when I usually ask people to sign on tissues they find it odd, but you seem to have no issues. Sure you are not someone I know under that mask," Christian Grey said as Max panicked a little, not realizing the trickery Grey used here until it was too late. "What's your business here?" Max asked in a calm voice, not replying to the question Grey asked him but diverting it ever so slightly. "Me. I'm here with my business partners. Within these 3 years in Sigma, I've managed to build a merchant house worth 25 billion gold coins. While my father is not impressed, I'd say I'm doing pretty damn good. But I would definitely be doing better if you, Sir Raven, did business with me more often," Christian said, putting on a big smile on his face. Max was pretty impressed by Christian Grey's accomplishment to have made a 25 billion gold worth business empire in 3 short years, naturally not completely legal, but still impressive. Max had done business with Christian long ago at the very start of the game, trying to sell some items that were impossible to sell inside the Tier 0 planet. It was there that Max invented the Raven persona, and it kind of stuck. However, the other party always gave him the chills, as if he knew all his secrets, including that he was actually Max. "I'll find you if I have something for you in the future," Max said as he extended his hand for Christian to shake. "Sure, also give regards to our mutual friend Max if you see him. I haven't seen the guy since he last came to Earth for that match of his," Christian said, trying to gauge Max's reaction, but Max gave away nothing. After the handshake, Max walked off like he did not know Christian Grey, while the latter clicked his tongue for coming up empty. Ever since Raven had asked Christian Grey to pay the 1 million gold coins he owed him for selling his items to Max, Christian had the suspicion that Raven was Max's hidden persona, but he had never been able to confirm this theory, and even today he got mixed results but nothing conclusive. All in due time, Christian, all in due time, he thought as he walked back to his business associates and started to talk business once more. 2 days later, on the day of the auction, "Bruh, something does not feel right. Why are you taking me to this fancy event instead of your girlfriend? I have a strong feeling of either being fucked financially by you or worse physically," Sebastian said as he dusted the only gold robe he had in his collection that did not scream, "Peasant, shut that up, you're my backup, my homie, who else would I count on if not you," Max said as he put on some regal clothes he had bought in his free time before the auction. "Damn you and your glib tongue, all you tall people are the same," Sebastian complained, but tagged along as the two bypassed the long lines of commoners. The auction had gathered over 400,000 bidders overall, most of them belonging to silver membership or gold. As Max passed by the silver line, he saw them throwing him and Sebastian a judgmental look of, "How are these idiots gold?" When he and Sebastian passed by the gold line, the expressions of those in the gold membership were the same as the silver ones, which said, "How are these idiots platinum?" Sebastian was even sneaky with it. He pretended he would join at the back of the line with the goldies, but at the last second he swerved as if to clearly show them that he was trolling them. When the duo bypassed the more regal platinum line, it was not a joke anymore, as the people in the platinum line looked at them mouth agape, trying to figure out which influential figures they were to prod so confidently into the VIP line. Which master dwarf is it? What about the masked man, which influential figure is he? A businessman from the platinum line wondered as everyone from the gold and silver lines peeped in disbelief. These idiots don't even have that intimidating presence. I bet they're going to be thrown out by the bouncers. They must be bronze members who don't understand their place. Look at that dwarf's clothes, it's worse than what my dog wears, a man from the gold line said as the others around him nodded. Everyone was trying to look rich and affluent, trying to walk into the auction, as men walking with beautiful women in their arms brought the envy of many, while those in the higher lines enjoyed status much greater than those in the lower ones, and hence the game of looking down on one another began. While there was a 2-hour waiting in the silver line just to get that in, it was only half an hour long one for gold and 6 minutes for platinum. The VIP entry had no line whatsoever, and a red dot carpet laid out as Max and Sebastian confidently strode down until the end, where a bouncer verified Max's badge and gave him a box number. Max was box number 7 for the night, and while he was allowed up to 3 guests, he had only one with him, which was Sebastian. Before they went in, Sebastian whispered a few words in the guard's ears, and about 2 minutes later the guy who said that his dog dressed better than Sebastian was escorted out of the auction premises and had his membership revoked in a brutal lesson of never judging a dwarf by his clothes. Chapter 243 Good start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Man, I love you," Sebastian said as he sat in the luxurious VIP booth number 7 and sipped the expensive wine that was complimentarily served by a beautiful human girl. The human girl was very flirty with Sebastian since he responded well to her charms. While her friend tried her luck with Max, he was too cold, and soon the woman got the signal that this guy was unapproachable and respectfully backed off. There was still time till the auction started, and sitting there with Max seeing all the money and the women and the catalogue of items, Sebastian felt like a degenerate gambler excited for a gambling session, as he felt like he could try his hand at buying some items off his own in this auction. until he realized that while he and Max were VIP and sitting in one of the best boxes of the auction house, there were still better and bigger boxes in the VIP plus row above them, reminding Sebastian that there was always a bigger fish. Oof, I almost became courageous here today and wanted to show off. Life is treacherous, Sebastian said as Max nodded and raised his glass of wine toward Sebastian and said, "May the cowardice be with you, may the cowardice be with you." Sebastian replied and drank the whole glass of wine down as the human girl who was previously admiring Sebastian now gave him odd looks. "You be out, you devil spawn, with you around I'll try act like a hero. I'm a damn proud coward and will not be swayed by your charms," Sebastian said as he dismissed the human girl serving him, much to the amusement of Max who giggled his bum off looking at the scene. "These women, I tell you, are always looking for my big dwarf D. Sometimes I don't understand why God made me so handsome, it's a hassle," Sebastian said as Max nodded grimly and indulged his narcissism as the two men goofed around for a while before the auction began. Soon, the auction house became nearly full with all lower rows being seated to capacity when a crippling aura covered the entire building, suffocating everyone as a monarch made his way to the VIP plus room. Max caught a glimpse of the man from the corner of his eye, the Emperor Cervantes, one of the two monarchs in attendance of the auction today, while the other one was going to be the mercenary King Avens. The entire arena erupted in hushed conversation once Cervantes entered the building, and even Sebastian was greatly impressed as he pointed toward Cervantes's VIP plus box with his mouth agape. Max found it funny as to how everyone treated this man like he was the biggest bosses in the universe, yet, not long back his brother and Cervantes would sit on a table and discuss business like equals. It just reminded Max of the status and charm his brother had in this universe and how big of a hole his death had brought to the family. If his brother was around he could probably chill with him in one of those VIP plus boxes up there and be assured that even if his brother bid 1 gold coin on his Agni Astra, nobody in the auction house would have the balls to bid 2 gold coins. A while after Cervantes was seated, another crippling pressure covered the arena as Avens brazenly made his way to his box, not even trying to conceal his aura as if threatening the entire arena to not mess with the items he had his eyes on before settling into one of the other VIP plus boxes. In total only 4 VIP plus customers were in attendance for the auction, while 1070 VIP customers were there amongst a total tally of around 400,000. The auction was primarily divided into 4 phases, with Phase 1 being open for all, Phase 2 being reserved for Platinum customers and above, Phase 3 for VIP customers and above, and the 7 items in Phase 4 reserved for VIP plus bidders only. Of those 7 items, one was Max's sole treasure and the other was the orb that Cervantes and Avens had a bidding war over in his past life. While there were many items in Phase 1 and 2 that Max wanted to get his hands on, Max knew that he needed every last penny that he owned for the Agni Astra and could take no risks before that. Hence when the auction finally started and the bidding began in the lower houses for the low-quality items, Max just watched amusedly while waiting patiently for his turn. Phase 1 was going to last for 2 hours and Phase 2 was going to last for 3, meaning that there was going to be at least 5 hours before the interesting stuff happened, and hence to keep the important guests entertained the auction house had prepared special shows in the VIP and VIP plus boxes such as magic performances, dance shows etc. Max and Sebastian chilled as they enjoyed these shows and tipped the performers a year's worth of their salary until in a blink of an eye the round 2 ended and the announcer announced the start of round 3. Max signaled for the performers to leave as he took a seat near the glass window to have a look at the upcoming proceedings seriously. Max had been informed that his common items had all been sold for a net income of 1.06 billion gold coins after the 5% auction fee was deducted, and Max was pretty happy about it as he had expected around that figure himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the first item for the 3rd phase is an item you won't see again in your lifetimes. The bone marrow of a Tier 7 white dragon, which is essential in crafting many semi-divine level pills and can be used to create the priceless Divine Constitution Enhancement Pill. Bidding starts at 2 billion gold coins, each increment must be 50 million gold coins or more. Let the bidding start. The auctioneer announced as Max had his eyes pinned at his item, which was cleaned, transferred into a new container and presented on a crystal mount as if it was the most exquisite piece of ingredient, and the bidding became intense quite fast for the item. 2.2 billion, said VIP 2, 2.5 billion, said VIP 3, and before the others could get in on the action, a mega bid of 3.5 billion came from VIP plus one box where Emperor Cervantes was seated, and the other bidders quickly went cold. Booyah! Max said out loud, as even after the auction fee of 5%, which came to be a whopping 175 million gold coins, Max was going to net 3.325 billion gold coins from this transaction. The night was off to a good start. Sebastian, who recognized the item, silently clapped for Max as he remembered how Kremeth asked both of them to extract the vials and hand them over to Kremeth for safekeeping. While Sebastian, the obedient student, handed over all the vials, it seemed like Max had kept a few for himself and made a hefty sum off it. It was a good business decision and one that Sebastian could learn from. Chapter 244 Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Max's items kept selling for fair prices one after another, and by the time all his items listed in the third round had been sold, Max raised a grand total of 12.7 billion gold coins. It was a lump sum greater than what Max had expected initially and gave him some extra credit to bid on the Agni Astra. If everything turned out well, his fourth round item could end up fetching him close to 20 billion gold coins at best, meaning he may walk out of the auction a richer man than he expected. At worst it would be 2 billion and he would still walk out a wealthy man. Our next item today, a sword of the legendary grade, rumored to have been gathered from the items Thor dropped after he was slain by Shikini the Terrifying in their deathmatch. A rare treasure owned by a monarch. Bidding starts at 5 billion gold coins, the auctioneer announced as Max had goosebumps all over his skin hearing his brother's name. The bidding was fervent for a sword that was previously owned by Thor, and it finally sold for a whopping 10.3 billion gold coins. A few other items passed by, and Max felt his heartbeat quicken with every passing bid, as according to the list, the Agni Astra was the 17th item for sale in round 3. And now, the 16th item for the night, a rare potion that will heighten bedroom experiences to an unimaginable degree. It is a must-have item for men and women of culture. Bidding starts at 2.5 billion gold coins. VIP 4. 2.7 billion VIP 6. 3 billion VIP 4. 3.3 billion VIP plus 3. 5 billion gold coins from VIP plus box 3, do I hear 5.1? The auctioneer asked. However, VIP plus box 3 was Avon's and nobody wanted to offend the man as the bidding stopped at 5. Sold to VIP plus 3 at 5 billion gold coins, ladies and gentlemen. The auctioneer said as the entire arena began clapping to show respect to the monarch. Everyone was talking behind Avons's back for him to publicly bid on such an item. However, Avons did not care. He was far too mighty to give weight to the opinion of peasants. If he wanted something he was going to take it, no point in maintaining facades of decency. Boy oh boy, does nobody ever bid over a monarch? Sebastian asked as Max nervously smiled and nodded. One of the worst things that could happen in the next item bidding would be that one of the monarchs bid for it. Max sincerely hoped that it would not be the case, as he would be truly fucked if that happened. Moving on, an interesting item for number 17, an unidentified object assumed to be from ancient times. It is protected by a high-degree concealment spell and even our best appraisers can't wrap a finger around its use. It could be trash or could be a treasure. Bidding starts at 1.5 billion gold coins, the auctioneer announced, as Max sighed deeply and prepared himself for a bidding war. Max signaled Sebastian to call in the staff to put them on standby while he did the bidding, as if need be. Max wanted to trade Sebastian's items for instant credit, for which he needed the staff to be on standby. VIP 3. 1.5 billion VIP 4. 1.7 billion VIP 7. 2 billion. Max made the first bid of the night, nervously incrementing the price to just 2 billion for his first bid and trying to test the waters, but the bidding continued and the price went up to 3 rather quickly. VIP 7. 4 billion. Max made a big increment in price, directly raising it by 1 billion gold coins, sending an indication to everyone that he was extremely interested in this item and might not relent. The crowd was rather perceptive and they knew that Max had not bidded on any items in the night up till this moment and hence might have deep reserves for this bid, and with his identity not confirmed not many wanted to take the risk of offending him as many backed off from the bidding process after his big increase. 4 billion from VIP box 7, do I hear 4? 2, the auctioneer said enthusiastically, and Max cursed the man for showing such vigor. For 3 seconds, which felt like an eternity to Max, there was complete silence. In Max's past life the item was sold around this price range as well, however, just when Max thought everything was going right, the most dreadful thing happened to him as a high bid got placed from a VIP plus box. 5 billion gold coins from VIP plus 2, whoever is in there definitely has a taste for the unknown. Do I hear 5.2? The auctioneer said, although just as formality as he considered the bidding to be completed. VIP plus 2 box was an unknown variable for Max, as while everyone knew that Cervantes was in VIP plus 1 and Avens was in VIP plus 3, the identity of those in 2 and 4 were not confirmed. While nobody else wanted to butt heads against a VIP plus guest, the Agni Astra was simply not an item that Max could pass on without a fight. Hence, gathering the balls, Max spoke into the mic, 7 billion, and shocked the entire arena. 7 billion gold coins from VIP box 7, alright. Do I hear 7.5? The auctioneer said with energy, clearly amused by this provocation as the rest of the arena was thrown into sheer chaos. Who is this idiot in VIP 7? Does the guy in VIP 7 know the true worth of the item? Is the item worth offending one of the strongest people in the universe? Ha ha ha, some idiot bid against a VIP plus. What does he think? Even if he wins, he might not be able to hang on to the item. I wonder how VIP plus 2 will respond. It will be a slap to her pride if he lets it slide. People began discussing this bid with hushed noises, as a very young gentleman sitting in VIP plus 2 had a frown on his face from how things had developed. Chapter 245. The winning bid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Marcus Aurelius sat in VIP plus 2 wondering who the fuck was messing with his authority and placing a bid over him. He was in the VIP plus room with his dad's card, only and only because his father took pity on him for losing his friend Siegfried and gave him his pass to blow some steam for one night. He was in the VIP plus room with 4 women today, all of whom were married and still coquettishly serving him as Marcus flexed his status to them. He was enjoying the night with the performances and the married women pleasuring him like he was their god when he was so rudely interrupted by some idiot in VIP box 7. Marcus did not even need the item, he just saw that nobody dared to bid over the items that Avens and Cervantes bid for and thought that with his status he would enjoy the same treatment. When the announcer announced that the item was an unknown treasure and a gamble, Marcus tried to act cool and asked the most mature vampire out there serving him tonight if he should take the gamble and buy it, and the woman said, yes, hence Marcus placed a bid of a staggering amount of 5 billion gold coins. In his mind it was a done deal, however, he was slapped hard when someone outbid him as his dick that was being sucked by 2 of his company for the night went limp in anger. Which idiot dares to mess with the Aurelius house? That to a mere VIP member. Call the fucking staff, I want this individual's membership revoked. Marcus said as he angrily stood up and pushed the 2 girls at his service aside. He saw the looks in their eyes that spelt shock and horror instead of amazement and worship and instantly felt revolted. Every individual in this world must worship him like he is the epitome of existence. There was no room for doubt or worry for a perfect being like himself. You, staff, revoke the membership of VIP room 7, the person definitely doesn't know his place, Marcus said to the staff member who was a tier 6 god and had a stern expression on his face. Very well, we shall do that if you inform us of the rules that VIP 7 broke. The god answered back diplomatically, completely unafraid of Marcus Aurelius. Well, it's an unwritten rule to not bid over members higher in stature than yourself, it's unacceptable. Marcus complained like a little bitch, and the Tier 6 god tried his best to maintain a professional neutral face as he said, "Sir, there is no such rule, in the third round everyone above platinum membership status is allowed to bid, I'm sorry but that cannot be considered a valid reason." The women around Marcus gasped, as Marcus looked around and felt rage boiling inside himself when he saw the look of doubt and contempt the girls had in their eyes for him, as he quickly stammered for words and said, "Then revoke it because he offended the Aurelius house. Surely whoever is inside is not worth the ire of House Aurelius." The god could not hold back his contempt any longer and he sighed audibly in front of Marcus and said, "Look kid, there is a reason why we announce stuff like VIP +2 and not Marcus Aurelius bids X amount of coins. It's precisely because we don't want to offend anyone. The individual in VIP 7 probably doesn't even know who is in this box, he doesn't have a vendetta against you or your family. Now if you have the money to pay up and outbid him, else let the item slide." Marcus stood there mouth agape as he could not believe his ears as to what the other party just told him, or the tone in which he addressed him. He was Marcus Aurelius. The son of a monarch, he was going to one day become a Tier 8 god himself and rule over the mighty vampire clan. He demanded respect be put to his name. Why you? Marcus stammered for words as the god coldly walked out of the room, giving him no face, leaving Marcus to face his group of women alone. "What, you bitches wanna say something to me?" Marcus shouted at the women as they scurried and avoided eye contact, afraid that Marcus may take out his anger on them. It was one of the signs of a weak man, to take out their anger on a weaker target, typically women, to feel superior and justified. And Marcus Aurelius was as weak men came. "You fucking bastard trying to mess with me. I'll show you, I'll bid all the money father gave me for this auction at once, let's see if you can outbid me then. Ha ha ha, I'll show you the wealth disparity between you and me, let's see if you can beat me now. 10 billion gold coins." Marcus practically shouted into the microphone as the entire arena buzzed with murmurs, while the auction house staff put a big smile to their faces. This was exactly what the auction house hoped for, an ego clash leading for one to overpay for items. However, Marcus Aurelius had underestimated Max's want for the item, as just as he placed a bid for 10, Max upped it to 11 billion in just 2 seconds. Marcus was in disbelief when Max placed a bid of 11 billion gold coins. It was money that no casual merchant could ever fork out. Who the fuck is messing with me today? Marcus wondered as he was at his wit's end with his allotted budget ending at 10 billion. But in desperation, he quickly called his father hoping he would help Marcus save face. "Marcus. Sir Regus, I need another 5 billion gold coins for this auction, I've been forced into a bidding war over an item and need the money urgently." Regus Aurelius. "What is the inherent worth of the item?" Marcus. "It's an ancient item, unverified, could be treasure or trash, but that's beside the point, some guy is outbidding me for it, please help me save face." Regus Aurelius. "Idiot. Line disconnects asterisk." Marcus stood there stupefied as his father called him an idiot, as repressed feelings of guilt and self-doubt surfaced once more inside his mind as his fragile ego took a hit. "Nobody understands me, nobody gets me." Marcus mumbled as he sat down and depressedly heard the auctioneer say, "Going once, going twice, sold to VIP 7, young master, are you okay?" One of his women approached Marcus carefully and placed a hand over his shoulder to try comfort him, however, it backfired as Marcus gave her a tight slap across the face. "Don't touch me you bitch," Marcus said as his eyes became blood red from anger and bloodlust. Marcus lunged at one other woman nearby and buried his fangs into her neck and began sucking her blood violently as the other women began screaming and running out of the VIP Plus box. Today was a big blow to Marcus's ego as he swore revenge on whoever was within VIP Box 7, who made him lose face today. Max's POV, with 11 billion gold coins deducted from his credit line. Max held his precious second piece of the Agni, Astra, in his hands as his breathing became rapid and uncontrollable from all the joy and elation he was feeling at the moment. For a moment Max thought he was mad for trying to outbid a VIP +2 and was borderline sure that he would lose the bid, but somehow he managed to win the item without having to leverage Sebastian's money and still save over 1.7 billion gold coins. "Grandpa Drax, we got it!" Max exclaimed as he looked at the second part of the rustic bracelet and chuckled with amusement. "Good job, kid, I'm really proud of you," Drax said, feeling satisfied at how Max was progressing. Having been around since Max started his journey, Drax was the one true observer of all his feelings and growth, and as his well-wisher he was very proud of the boy's improvements. "Hazriel, brother, I won't let you down," Max said, looking towards the heavens as Sebastian sat in the corner smiling at his friend's success. "I'll move out, you probably have your secrets, call me in the room when you are done," Sebastian said, patting Max on the shoulder and tactically taking his leave from the VIP box, knowing that Max might need some space for a while. Max smiled back at Sebastian but did not stop him. He wanted to bind with the second piece right here, knowing full well that when he stepped out of the auction house VIP +2 might not make his life easy and may come after the item. Not wanting to take such a risk, Max decided to integrate with it right here, right now. ///////n. Bonus chapter for hitting the PS target, good job everyone, /////. Chapter 246 Fusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "So Uncle Drax, what exactly do I need to do for the upgrade? I don't really want to pass out from pain here inside the auction house," Max said in his head as he shuddered from remembering the first time he tried to fuse with the Agni, Astra, and passed out cold. "Well, it ain't exactly a painless process, fusing with the Agni, Astra, what did you expect? The power of a god doesn't come without its price," Drax said in an agitated tone as if talking to a spoiled brat as Max pouted and mentally prepared for the pain. "Just put the bracelet on your arm, I'll do the rest, it's not harmful to your body or brain, just painful, so man up and grit your teeth," Drax instructed Max as the old AI prepared to fuse the second piece of the Agni, Astra. Max placed the odd-looking ancient bracelet on his arm, right below where the first piece was, and instantly the old rustic metal began to shine bright hot red, as Max felt his skin burn and melt from the heat as he yelped in pain. Fire elemental mana flooded his veins, and unlike the first time where he had no mana, this time the pure fire elemental energy of a god threatened to completely destroy Max's weak mana circuit as it violently coursed through Max's veins. Max felt like he was on fire, that he was being fried by a microwave and being cooked from the inside out as he could feel the temperature of his blood rise rapidly in his veins. Too hot, Grandpa Drax," Max complained in his mind. However, there was nothing Drax could do about it. Max was already extremely lucky to be half-dragon and have a body that could handle the fire elemental mana and the heat that it brought, as the process would be several times more painful should Max not possess a high degree of fire resistance. "I'll begin fusion now, keep circulating the mana in your body at high speeds," Drax instructed Max as the old AI tried to take over the will of the fire god left behind in the second part of the Agni, Astra, and tried to suppress it and fuse it with the first part in Drax. When the two pieces of bracelet finally touched, it caused a heat wave to erupt from Max's body and caused the entire room Max was in to spontaneously catch fire as the fire prevention inscription was activated and water began drizzling from the top of the room. An alarm was sent to the auction house managers that there was trouble in VIP Box 7, but when the officers tried to rush to check, they found a dwarf standing at the door while leaning on his sword as he said, "Sorry, come back later." Sebastian was sure that whenever Max was ready he would walk out of that door himself, and that it was his duty to not let anybody inside till he was. Although Max had never explicitly asked him to leave the room, or asked him to be on guard duty, Sebastian was the one friend to whom Max needed to convey no words. The two had spent enough time training and suffering together to have developed a bond that was going to last a lifetime, and were at a stage where gestures like nodding the head were enough to convey entire conversations. The auction house staff were reluctant to not go in and check, but when Sebastian refused to budge they had no choice but to wait for Max to walk out himself. Meanwhile, Max was drenched in rain from the rain mechanism overhead, but the water on his body was evaporating fast as his internal body temperature reached a whopping 60 degrees Celsius. Had it been a normal human, they would have died from organ failure by now. However, Max's two hearts furiously pumped blood and tried to circulate the heat as fast as they could across the body so that the load on Max's internal organs could be reduced. Ack, fuck me, Max cursed in his head as he could physically feel the metal of the first half of the Agni Astra fusing with the second one along with his bone and his flesh, as at this point Max's arm looked nothing like that of any bipedal species but rather like a skeleton dipped in lava. If Max did not have Drax to contain the power of the Agni Astra and regulate it in a way that Max felt minimal effects, he would have been incinerated to ashes by now, as the Agni Astra was in essence a tier 9 weapon and not something a tier 3 warrior like Max could ever hope to tame. The late fire god Agni made the weapon in a way that each piece he left behind had a small part of his will inside, and should that judge the wearer to be unworthy, unless the wearer was above tier 7 they would die from the heat. One part of that will was Drax, and Drax had considered Max to be worthy and hence was now helping him subdue the will of the second fragment and convincing it to fuse with the first part so that Max could use its power. After 30 painful minutes and countless suicidal thoughts, Drax managed to subdue the will of the second fragment of the Agni Astra as it fused in full with the first part over Max's right arm bones and allowed flesh to regenerate over itself, concealing its presence completely. Congratulations kid, you have successfully fused the second part of the Agni Astra. Good job on not dying, Drax said at the end, sounding completely exhausted as Max laid down flat on the charred mat of the once luxurious VIP room and wondered if Hazriel was really his well-wisher or just a sadist who had set Max to a path of maximum pain. I hope you enjoyed the show, Max thought as he rolled around and coughed out fire before standing back up on his feet. Chapter 247 Windfall Rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So what have we got now? Max asked Drax, as for the first time ever, Drax manifested himself over Max's palm as a small holographic figure made from flames. Drax now had a semi-physical form and was no longer just a voice in Max's head as the old AI stroked his long beard and said, "Well, we have got a lot." Max freaked out and stared at Drax's flaming holographic figure wide-eyed before erupting with joy. "Whoa, let's go," Max said as he gave Drax the biggest smile his face could manage before starting to chuckle madly. Drax was pretty much exactly how Max expected him to be, an old man with a stern face and kind eyes. If eyes could be handsome, then Drax would definitely be considered as handsome as he looked like a Chinese grandmaster with a long beard and sharp facial features. "I have no face per.se, from your memories and recollections this is the form I have chosen, because you seem to hold esteem and respect towards individuals who look like this," Drax clarified as Max nodded and began listening intently as to what the upgraded powers of his Agni Astra were. Well, let's start with the basic upgrade. There are two modes you can use the Agni Astra in now, which is passive mode and battle mode. Passive mode is pretty much what we have been used to up till now, which is you call upon the Agni Astra's power to carry out specific tasks. Battle mode, on the other hand, increases the weapon's power output by 50%, meaning your spells would be much more powerful and much stronger, while you will be covered in a flame armor. Flame armor will prove to be excellent in magic defense, however, because of its elemental nature it will still be lacking in physical defense, although it can melt away arrows and debris coming your way if they are weak. But it would work best with a proper armor to properly increase your defense. Drax said as Max nodded with satisfaction and said, "Battle mode," as instantly a flame armor emerged from his right hand and covered his entire body as Max looked like the reincarnation of the flame god himself and extremely cool. "Ha, nice," Max commented as Drax sighed and chose to ignore Max's childishness. Next we have spells. Your existing spell casting limit is increased by x10, meaning you can now cast 100 fireblasts, 30 inferno spells and so on. While the power magnification of all fire-based spells is increased from 1000% to 10,000%, meaning that your tier 3 fire attacks will be akin to a peak tier 4 attack. It will give you an unbelievable edge in offensive abilities and will raise your overall combat potential to whole another level. But apart from your existing spells, you can now cast 3 new spells, namely, Fire Rope, Fire Compression, Flame Shield. Fire Rope is a spell that was created by the god of fire, Agni himself, and it can create a rope of fire capable of restraining individuals 2 tiers above your strength. It will consistently deliver burn damage and will keep on tightening around the enemy the more they struggle. Fire Compression is a spell by which you can compress a fire attack and increase its power by 3.5x. It's a forbidden spell that not many modern users know, because it is one of the rare spells that can be used on top of an attack spell to increase its power. If you think of it one way, the entire Agni Astra is a giant fire compressor, clearly much more advanced than your abilities, for which it can give a 100x power increase to you at this stage. But while you cannot do a 100x power increase, even if you manage 5x, it will eventually lead to a 500x power multiplication, meaning you will be able to launch a pseudo tier 5 attack while being just tier 3. The final spell is Flame Shield, and while it's a defensive spell and not one that's exciting to you, it's extremely practical. It's a hands-free shield that will help you with blocking physical attacks, just like the Flame Wall. If you learn to use it right, you will be fighting the enemy with 3 hands instead of 2, as you will be able to block their attacks with just your willpower without the need to move a muscle. The fire god Agni used this spell a lot and to much success at that, Drax said as Max felt his mind being blown at the declaration. He now had a 10,000% power increase to all fire-based spells, which meant that any spell that he cast would have 100 times its base power. Even the tier 1 spell, Fireball, would have power of a tier 2 spell Fireblast, and with Max being able to rain down fireballs non-stop on an enemy, it was practically a end-of-boss level cheat. Apart from the increase in power and limit of his spells, he also had 3 new useful abilities which would help him bridge the gap with high-level opponents when he fought them. Your fire resistance has now increased from advanced to near perfect, meaning you are now immune to all fire-based attacks below tier 6. Only those who have mastered the laws of fire can now hurt you, Drax said as Max banged his chest with pride. Now this was some OP shit, something worth celebrating. Lastly and most importantly, the second piece we just fused with contained the soul treasure of the fire god called Mirror World. Inside the Mirror World, you can fight and train against your own self-image, having the same abilities as you. While you will be left with your own consciousness, your enemy will be the peak version of you according to my AI intelligence. By fighting against your perfected version, you will learn how to hone your abilities and attack patterns, as well as analyze your own weaknesses from a third-party perspective. With every fight you will evolve, but so will your mirror clone, and while you will lose all your fights against him, you will grow a lot as a warrior. Max felt sweat drip from his forehead at this information. He had heard about such treasures, but they were the prized possessions of powerful people like the monarchs and not something a weakling like himself could ever hope to have. However, with such a place to train, Max was sure to progress by leaps and bounds in the coming days, as he could spend every second that he was not busy or physically training in the real world, to mentally train in the mirror world. /////A/N. Bonus chapter for hitting the GT target. Good job everyone. ////. Chapter 248 Identity confirmed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm sorry for the damages, Max offered, as the staff of the auction house gave him some really nasty stares. Max graciously paid them 100 million gold coins for any damages to the room he might have unintentionally caused, and the 7 Galaxies Bank decided to call the matter quits. By the time Max was done with his upgrade, the auction was nearly over. His item in the 4th round went for a modest sum of 8.5 billion gold coins, and while it was not the astronomical sum of 20 billion, it was also not a dirt low sum of 2 billion. Apparently, even in this lifetime there was a big bidding war between Emperor Cervantes and Avens for the piece of the tier 10 treasure, and the ending bid did go into the trillions, making it the most expensive item ever sold. Cervantes walked away the winner of the bid, although not very pleased with the sum that he had paid for it. But while it was good to know about the events that had occurred, it did not affect Max one bit as to who won the bid and at what price. For him, the auction was good, he had got the piece he wanted and was walking out the auction house with about 10 billion gold coins worth of liquid cash. Max was in high spirits as he walked out of the auction house with one hand slung over his friend Sebastian's shoulder as he squished the little fellow tight for the favor he had done Max today. "Ouch ouch ouch, easy there big guy, don't apply so much of your dragon strength," Sebastian said as he complained to Max for squeezing his shoulder too hard, making Max squeeze him even harder. Alright, you are in awfully high spirits today, what's the reason?" Sebastian asked after looking at the crinkles around Max's eyes which would not go down. "It's nothing much, just that I've figured it out," Max said without revealing much as he let Sebastian slowly draw his own conclusion. "You have figured out your roadmap to becoming Vampire King?" Sebastian asked in an unsure voice as Max picked the small dwarf up using both hands and held him at his eye level using brute strength before starting to laugh. "You smart mother," Max said as Sebastian joined him in his laughter. While the duo was in the dragon's paradise, they had talked to each other about their ambitions. Sebastian knew Max wanted to become the Vampire King by dethroning Regus Aurelius and was often brainstorming with Max as to how he was going to get there. However, while the two thought about it a lot, they never managed to form a tangible plan as to how to get there. Now that Max finally had the plan sorted out, Sebastian was very interested in learning what it was as he asked keenly, "So what is it?" Max had the most mischievous look in his eyes when Sebastian asked him this question as he said, "Wanna know? Fine, let me tell you." Meanwhile, Marcus Aurelius, "Are you sure this is the photo of the guy sitting in VIP 7 who was bidding against me?" Marcus asked in disbelief as his informant brought him the images of Sebastian and Max on their way out of the auction. "It's confirmed, sir, I had to bribe my way to some 7 Galaxy Bank officials, but it's them, there is no doubt about it," the informant that Marcus paid 200 million gold coins said with confidence. "This mask, it's the same one that I saw in my vision before Siegfried was killed. These blood-red eyes, I can never forget them. Do you think it's the work of an individual or an organization? Is someone specifically targeting me?" Marcus asked the informant, who shrugged his shoulders and offered no advice. His job was to bring Marcus the information, it was Marcus's own job to draw conclusions from the information he brought him. "Go bring me the address of where these guys are living in Warren City, I think I need to pay the masked man and the fat dwarf a visit before they leave," Marcus said as the informant bowed and opened his mouth to say something but was cut off rudely by Marcus. "Whatever your fee is, I'll pay it, just do my job first," Marcus said as he knew what the informant was gonna say. Bowing politely, the man left, as Marcus cursed the entire assassin clan behind the man's back, calling them a bunch of money-grubbing good-for-nothings. It had been a hard last month for Marcus. He had lost his friend Siegfried, Asiva had successfully escaped imprisonment and was roaming free now, her whereabouts completely unknown to him. His father thought of him as a failure just because his level-up progress could not match to his standards, but in Marcus's mind that was not his fault. If his father wanted, he could appoint an entire army to help him level up, but he insisted that Marcus do it alone, the old-fashioned way. His second brother had surpassed him in terms of power and levels, although being 2.5 years younger to him, giving him a big slap across his face and raising questions about his place at the top of the food chain within the family. And finally, just as he was trying to get some enjoyment and some time free from all the troubles and issues back home, some idiot completely ruined his parade and made him lose face in front of his guests. This made Marcus's mood extremely sour. Now, the only wish he had was to exact some retribution from those who offended him. /////A/N. Guys, this bonus chapter is me trying to compensate for my awful release rate last month. Consider this as my apology for not being able to hold on to the 10 normal chapters /week plus bonus promise I made a while ago // Chapter 249 Future Plans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wait, so let me make sure I'm getting this right. The oath that clan leaders take when they pledge subservience to Vampire King Regus Aurelius is that they will follow 4 rules. 1. Pay annual taxes to the crown. 2. Rally their clans and troops in times of war. 3. Not recognize anyone who assassinates or dethrones the current regime through shady means, and promise to hunt them to eternity if they so much so try. 4. Not make friends with individuals/factions that are deemed as opposition to the crown. This means that should an external party ever try to overthrow Regus Aurelius, all of the vampire kind must answer to his call for aid, meaning, to defeat the crown one must beat the entire race. Sebastian asked Max in amazement, and when Max nodded in affirmation, Sebastian leaned back in his chair and said, "Crazy." The duo had come out to a bar in Warren City to celebrate the success of the auction, and were talking about Max's future plans inside a private room in the bar. Ever since Max had came out of the dungeon, he was gathering more and more information about the vampire kind, and after understanding their customs and their practices he was able to find the best way to dethrone the king. So, since external pressure is not an option, the only option is to build yourself up internally, Sebastian said as Max clinked his glass against Sebastian's and continued the conversation. Exactly, the way that the vampire society works is that they have a ranking for all the clans under the crown of Regus Aurelius. While all the clans consider Regus to be king, their loyalty to him varies considerably. For example, the third-ranked clan is the clan of the ex-vampire king, and that clan absolutely hates Regus Aurelius for dethroning their patriarch. However, as things stand they don't have the right to challenge the throne, as to do that they have to become the first-ranked clan amongst all vampire clans. Max said as Sebastian nodded his head and took a bite of the peanuts placed on the table. To him this was some eye-opening shit. A clan's power is not only decided by its military prowess, but a combination of the prowess of its youth, its economy, and its military. The rankings are altered every 3 years, and the chief of the top-ranked clan gets the privilege of choosing to challenge Regus Aurelius to a fight for the throne. For the past 200 years, the first-ranked clan has been the Caesar clan, and they are puppets of Regus Aurelius. Those bastards have been practically subsidized and supported by Regus Aurelius to stay at the top, and they return the favor by behaving like a bunch of loyal dogs. It's disgusting to be honest, but it's not impossible for one to dethrone them as the #1 clan, although it will take a lot of work. It's very much possible. And once you are the #1 ranked clan, you can officially challenge Regus Aurelius for the throne, and it will be a fight where Regus can no longer rely on any of his banner men. If he's a man, it will be a one-on-one fight between me and him. If he's not, it will be a fight amongst our clans. Either way, it will spare the entirety of the vampire race from being embroiled in a war. Max explained his genius plan to Sebastian, who clapped back in response. Well, what's the plan for getting a clan then? "'Cause last I checked you don't have one," Sebastian asked Max, as Max's eyes brightened at the question. Very enthusiastically Max said, "You remember my girlfriend, Asiva Nightblade Paredes." Sebastian's face turned into a big "oh" as his mind started to connect the dots. "Yeah, she's technically the leader of the Paredes clan that has been annexed by the Kingsmen. While she wants revenge, I want her clan, and we plan to have a grand wedding after we take that back. That will make her the mistress of the Paredes clan and myself the lord. But outside help won't do. If we take outside help it will be considered as rebellion, and while we have the support of the St. Maximus clan, we can't count on sweepers to win wars. To solve that problem, me and Asiva are going to join the third-ranked clan under Regus Aurelius, the dethroned clan of Titus. We will join their military and gain achievements under both the Titus clan and the crown, until the Titus clan lends us enough troops to take on the Kingsman clan. Not only will we avenge Asiva's father, but also write our own future destiny with our own hands." Max explained as Sebastian raised his glass to toast for Max's success. It was a solid plan, and the only thing that was left now was execution. The road was going to be bumpy for sure, but Sebastian had a feeling that the group could see it through to the very end. "Well, if you guys are joining the Titus clan, then there is no way that this dwarf is going to stay behind," Sebastian said as Max banged his wine glass against Sebastian's and chuckled out loud. "I.e. that's my man," Max said as he and Sebastian laughed and enjoyed completely unaware that Marcus was currently heading with 2 Tier 5 guards and 10 Tier 4 henchmen towards their current location. The informant had been successful in tracking down Max's whereabouts, and while he had advised Marcus not to cause trouble inside Warren City, Marcus was in no mood to listen to that advice. In his mind it was time to put an end to the masked man's life, and he was personally coming to get it done. //////A/N. This bonus chapter is sponsored by patron Revol2010 via Patreon. Please thank him in the comments for this one /////. Chapter 250. No hesitation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young master, the owner of this bar is not complying. He doesn't want to empty the bar before closing time like you asked for, one of Marcus's Tier 4 subordinates said as Marcus began losing his cool. What is it with these retards? I'm paying them 200 fucking million gold coins for a shabby place like this, yet they don't want to give face to me. I'm Marcus Aurelius, for God's sake, my father is a monarch. Well, fuck it then, kill everyone who is inside. We will deal with the fallout later, Marcus said as he stomped his foot like a spoiled brat. His subordinates looked at each other and then at the 2 Tier 5 personal guards of Marcus. In the end, when the 2 Tier 5 guards nodded their heads, the other henchmen ran inside the bar to cause trouble. The bar owner was half expecting trouble, hence when the 10 Tier 4 henchmen rushed inside his establishment, he was all armored up and ready to fight. The bar owner had already called for back-up and knew that he only had to hold on for a few minutes before local authorities arrived at the scene. Stand down, or we will burn this place to the ground, one of the henchmen said to the bar owner as they felt nervous seeing him suited up and ready for a fight. Is there a problem here, mate? One of the frequent customers of the bar, a Tier 4 mage, asked as he nodded to the bar owner in affirmation that he would stay there and support him. Yeah, we are looking for a masked man. We have been informed that he might be inside your VIP room, but the owner won't let us through. So now we are going to take the person we want by force. The henchman replied, this is Warren City, you can't act like you own this place, because let me tell you something, you don't, the owner said as with this statement the fight finally broke out. Some customers ran away, some screamed in panic, while some stayed to help against the agitators as an all-out brawl broke out inside the bar. The noise from all the fighting alerted Max, who used scan, and realized that there was a lot of trouble outside their room. We have trouble, 10 Tier 4 warriors, 2 Tier 5 warriors, Max said to Sebastian as the dwarf set his drink aside and unsheathed his sword. The bar owner is fighting them off? Sebastian asked as he could now clearly hear the scuffle outside as well. I think so, Max said as Sebastian nodded to him with a serious face. You thinking what I'm thinking? Sebastian asked Max very seriously. Max looked around and then said very cautiously, Turtle Hermit Way lesson number 1. When you see an opponent stronger than you, run. May the cowardice be with you, Sebastian said, clapping his hands together, as Max inhaled a deep breath and began blowing, dragon's breath, towards the back wall of the VIP room. BL.net Max burned a hole straight through the VIP room wall, left 100 million gold coins on the side of the room for damages and dashed straight into the back alley with Sebastian. The two of them had no qualms about fleeing when others were sacrificing their life for them because Kremeth had hammered it into their heads that survival came before everything else. Maybe if Max and Sebastian stayed to help them, everything may work out in the end. However, there was a fair chance that everything may not work out as well. One may have many chances for revenge if they lived long enough, but one could never have a second chance at life if they died once. Someone is following us and is closing in fast, Max said as he felt someone trailing them even though the duo was retreating at an extremely fast pace. Sebastian instantly dropped a few spikes on the edge of the roof where the other party was most likely to step on and kept dropping small traps all along the way, including a punctured bottle of blood. When the Tier 5 henchmen of Marcus, who had noticed the two of them fleeing and started pursuing them, came near the spiked ledge, he spotted the danger and leapt straight over it, thinking he was very smart and avoided the trap set by Sebastian. Ha, such petty tricks will never get me, he said as he landed in the puddle of blood and tried to continue running as normal only to fall flat on his face. The second that Max heard the splash of blood, he used the skill, blood chain, and bound the other party's legs, causing him to trip as he tried to chase the duo. Max and Sebastian did a fist bump as they continue their escape, widening the gap due to the distraction that they managed to create. The Tier 5 pursuer cursed. He did not expect himself to fall for such petty tricks, but he soon got back to his feet and resumed the chase with renewed vigor. It was all for naught, however, as Max and Sebastian made their way back into the auction house, and while the Tier 5 pursuer was keen on bringing their heads for the young master, even he did not have the guts to act rowdy in a place which was crawling with multiple Tier 6 gods. Damn it! The young master is going to be really pissed, the Tier 5 henchman said as after a few seconds of reluctance he began making his way back to the bar. Max and Sebastian, who were desperately catching their breaths, wondered who the fucking hell sent their henchmen for their lives, and the identity of VIP +2 room member flashed past their minds. They must have come for the treasure or because you offended the individual, Sebastian said as Max shook his head and denied this analysis. The forces were too weak for being with someone important. It's most likely some young master sending his personal entourage to deal with us. Although I don't know what his beef with us might be, I'm sure that she is an idiot. There will be consequences for acting rowdy in Warren City, that much I'm sure of. Max said as he made a spot on analysis of the situation.